Hi, I'm Robert Howk. We're back with Kelly and Colin, and we're going to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, if you will, and that's the issue of money and how people get qualified for these things. And we've spoken before on our show about life care planning and how we work with that to make the money last as long as possible, keep people in their homes and things. But Kelly, you want to talk a little bit about your intake process and what they look at and what kind of fee ranges they may be loosely looking at? I don't want any commitments, but generalization, if you will.
Yeah, finances are probably one of the most common questions that we get, and probably one of the things people are most concerned about. Assisted living can range anywhere from $2,500 up to $5,000 or $6,000 at various places, and so folks generally do pay for assisted living through their own private funds. Medicare, Medi-Cal, for the most part, does not pay for those services. So some of the alternatives that folks can use would be the VA aid attendance that was spoken about earlier, but also long-term care insurance. We help folks look at their long-term care policy to see if they may qualify for that.
Okay. Colin, you want to talk a little bit about the generalization again, about
Sure.
fees and stuff for, I call them residential care facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Marcy's, they're referred to in our business as 6 beds or whatever, but I really like the term residential care facility. But
Sure.
yeah.
So we do accept long-term care insurances. Typically it is private pay. And one thing that we chose to do is to not go into a tiered system. So when you move into our homes, your cost never goes up because your needs increased. So if you came in and you were very high functioning to start and eventually you went on hospice, we don't increase any costs because you went on to hospice and because your needs did increase. It helps because oftentimes at this point in life, you're on a fixed income and you need to be able to plan for the future. And it's hard to do if you're going to get a phone call at the end of the month saying, well, you required this many spoon feedings this month, and so we have to charge for each of those. Rather than doing a tit for tat, we just have a flat rate.
Okay. And that's not though typical in the industry. Those
No.
tend to be graduated scales.
Yes, they do.
And in a way, it's understandable because the care level goes up. Have you worked at all with the Veterans Administration program called Aid in Attendance?
I have not.
Okay. I will explain it to you briefly, and we talked about it with David Rose. You were in here today, and if a person is a veteran, they have served 90 consecutive days, not in a training exercise, one day of which, just one day, has to fall within one of the specified periods of war. And then if they're in your facility, they definitely need the aid attendance because that is likely to eat up all of their income. And aid and attendance then will pay the veteran a fairly good sized chunk of money. For married couples, it goes up every year. It was scheduled to go up this year, but it didn't. Congress didn't feel the need to raise the give a cost of living increase for veterans and Social Security. But for a single spouse of a veteran, they didn't have to serve. They just had to be married at the time the veteran died. They had to be married. If they're divorced, they'll lose that issue, but then they can get up to $1,100 a month income for the spouse to add to the pot to pay for things. I know we're running out of time. I know we're running over time, but I just wanted to talk with that briefly. And the key issue is in our aspect of it is we look at it, where's the safest place for the person to be? Everybody wants to be at home forever. That doesn't always work. Then they have to be out in another place. And I have first-hand knowledge of both places, which is why you were asked to come on today. So you have any recommendations for people when they should start looking at this?
You can't really start looking too early. I mean, you don't want to be in a situation where you are pressured to find a place because there's been an accident. And sadly, sometimes that's what we'll see, where maybe a parent has fallen and they've really wanted to hold on to their lifestyle that they've had for so long, and then there's an accident, and now we have to bring them somewhere. The safest thing to do is to get out there and look. It doesn't mean you're going to commit to something today, but there's some great resources on the Community Care Licensing website for questions that people can ask when they go to a facility, to ask them about what kind of services they offer, how their pay structure is set up, and what kind of training they offer their employees. Is everyone CPR certified, first aid, things like that. So on the Community Care Licensing Division website, there are some great resources for people who are looking for a place.
Kelly, do you have anything to add with this, when they should start looking?
I'm glad you mentioned the Community Care Licensing website, because that list is really valuable. I see lots of folks with those. But I agree, you can't look soon enough. And part of it, too, is to not only find a place where you think you feel comfortable, but to visit several times at different times of the day, and to join in different activities. So.
Okay, very good. I want to thank people for tuning in. I see the red light flashing, so I've run out of time. Thank you for watching, and I hope to be of service to you guys soon. Thank you.